Alright, it's a new day today. I have all my marks set, drill some holes, and I'll give you a shot of that, and then we'll punch some holes, get our bulkhead set in there, then from the outside we'll start countersinking and fasten it with some screws. Call it good. So I have my holes marked that I'm going to drill through the bottom, and we're going to screw through the bottom and come into the bulkhead, and I've got them spaced the same distance as our screws here on top, which will be hidden behind the counter and cabinet. And then I've got my holes marked about 2 inches apart along the side until we get to the top, and I might put one about right here, and we'll get that bulkhead fastened on, and then we'll go to the next step. So the bulkhead's sitting in place. I put one screw at the bottom, lined up the bevel at the top, made sure it's flush, put a screw at the top, did that to both sides. Now we're going to go through and countersink all of our holes here and put the screws in. We'll do that to both sides. Then we'll climb inside, drill from the bottom, get that screwed in. Bulkhead is installed. Using 1 3/4 screws. Nice gold color here. You want to make sure that your screws are sunk in below the surface of the wood, so when we put our 1/4 inch with the Filon on here, everything sits nice and flush and flat and good to go. So let's do the other side and we'll be done. Hope the tables hold up. Thought I'd give you a shot of that bulkhead sitting in here, and 23 degrees on this angle, and it is sitting nice and flush all the way across, and so when the ceiling goes on here, it'll fasten right onto this edge. So looking good right there. Onto the cabinets. So the rear galley cabinet, pretty straightforward, very simple. You have a top and you have a face and you have some doors. We'll probably put ends on here, and that's what we're going to attach to the sides of the trailer. So we'll set it in place, fasten it down, and hopefully all that looks good. I might put a 1x1 stick on the back so we can set the top on, and the face here will go against the cabinet, and I might have to put something here on the bottom. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to wing that one. I don't know if I can fasten it underneath without ripping things up. So anyway, I got a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood. We're going to go ahead and cut our cabinet top, 46.5 inches wide, 10 inches long or in depth, and the face of the cabinet, 46.5 inches wide and 9.5 inches high. So let's get those cut. Alright, so we've got our pieces cut and we just have them set in there. They're just setting there. So that's going to be what it looks like. We're going to have 3 openings here in the front with 3 doors, and they will fold down, and once it's open you still have some countertop on the back of the doors instead of swinging out this way and you have to clear the countertop to be able to use it. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then on the top edge here, which is be storage, I'm going to put a nice little rail across the top here and beauty that up. So next step, now that we've got everything kind of pre-cut and in place, is we'll go ahead and cut out the openings for our doors, or our openings for our face of our cabinet, and then a couple of trim pieces back there to fasten everything to, and we'll get this face on, and then we'll get the top on and make sure everything's flush and looking good before we varnish everything. Yeah, looking good. So for the cutouts for our openings, I'm just going to follow the drawings. I'm going to measure 1 inch up from the bottom and draw a line, 1 inch from the top, draw a line, 1.5 from the sides, and then measure for my openings. There'll be 1.5 in between, and so we'll lay that out on a piece of wood, put my borders around it, and as always on my cabinets, I'll drill a hole and I'll router those out so it gives me a nice clean edge. So now that the openings are cut and we just have it setting right there, it's not fastened or anything, just kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like, and I think it looks fantastic. So following the drawings, everything's coming out just right, so nice. So now I'm going to put a couple little spars, beams, sticks, something like that, whatever you want to call it. Put one down here on the bottom and one on the top and one in the back, and fasten it to the bulkhead, fasten it to the countertop, and fasten it to the top of the cabinet here. That way when we put everything together we'll have something to clamp to, glue it, and make sure it stays in place. So that's looking pretty nice. Probably should get some varnish on there before long, but you know how I am with that. Blech. Alright, so this is where we're at so far. So I made a couple of side pieces. They're 9.5 by 9.5, fastened to the side of the trailer wall and on both sides. And I also made a couple of sticks that are 1.25 inches wide and put a straight edge on here to make sure that they are nice and straight. Went ahead and glued and tacked those in place and along the back here. So that's what the top is going to rest on, and this is what the front is going to rest on. And for the top piece I also put a stick behind that. So the way that that is going to be is, once we get this in here, that'll be like that. And if I can do this with one hand here, and we get the let me rest that for a second, get that in there. There we go. And so we have the bottom piece here, this 1.25 inch stick, and when we get ready to glue and fasten, we'll put a clamp on that and make sure it's secure. And we'll do the same with the top, so it's nice and flush all the way across, and that gives you something to glue to. And inside, all this will be flattened down and glued in place. And then I think what I'll do is from the outside I'll go ahead and screw fasten the top and the sides in place, and that way it's not going to go anywhere. So with the top on, we get the glue in there. We also clamp that and make sure that that is nice and flush. So that's where we're at. Looking good. Now before I fasten everything down, I'm going to take the face off and the top off. We're going to go ahead and get varnish on here and make sure that the bottom is sealed, and behind the face, make sure to get that all sealed with varnish. Then we'll be able to put it on, and I got me a couple of clamps here, a piece of rope with a clamp in between. Clamp that, make sure the sides are nice and tight, screw fasten that in, and then we can call that done and worry about the doors. So that's where I'm going to end this video. So we got the bulkhead in, we cut all the pieces for the cabinet, the top, the face, the sides, got some sticks going here and attached, so everything is in its place and it's fitting nice and it's fitting nice and good. So yep, I hope you're coming along with your project just as well, and you should be at least this far. So for the galley part, it is almost complete. I'm going to say it's about 80% complete. There's some trim pieces that we need to put on the front of our edge here, and also here, and then we're going to put a railing up across the top and make it look nice back here. Before we move on to the inside, we have one more cabinet to install on the inside with the doors, and then we'll well, I think we'll be ready to make some spars and get this thing wrapped. Won't be too long before it's on the trailer and be able to move it around. So that's where we're at, and oh, what a lot of fun. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's taking you everywhere. Alright, so if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with Facebook or Instagram, all your friends, anybody who's thinking about building a teardrop. Yeah, do that. Alright, so we're going to call this video a wrap, and thank you for staying tuned, thank you for watching, thanks for the comments, thanks for the likes, and appreciate all the subscribers. You guys are what keeps me driving on. So with that, you know what I'm going to say, stay tuned.